Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you this evening at this United Synagogue memorial service for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. We come together in sorrow, but also in thanksgiving for a life well lived in the service of others. And as we mourn her loss, we remember in our thoughts and prayers King Charles III and the whole royal family. And as you pray for the royal family each week in synagogues up and down the country and beyond, now with the words, "May he bless our sovereign Lord King Charles and all the royal family." Her late Majesty was quite simply the most remarkable person I have ever met. When asked in recent years who was the world leader who had most impressed me, I would always reply, the Queen. What made her remarkable was the combination of qualities she embodied. Above all was her selfless devotion to duty and a lifetime of service. As we've heard previously, she had pledged that service to her people when she was 21 years old. How many 21-year-olds today would feel able to give that lifetime commitment? She did, and she upheld that commitment, and my goodness me, how she upheld it. Throughout those 70 years on the throne, just think how many ribbons she cut, how many plaques she unveiled, how many state openings of Parliament, Trooping the Colour, Buckingham Palace garden parties she attended. To most people, these were a once-in-a-lifetime event. For her, they came every year. Her year was marked out by required duties, not to mention all those audiences with prime ministers. Her late Majesty's commitment to duty and service should be an example to us all. And I hope that at a time when service to others and doing one's duty have sadly slipped out of focus in many areas of our public life, I hope Her late Majesty's example can be an inspiration to us all and spur all of us to focus on service to others rather than ourselves. Her selflessness was marked by another quality, an abiding interest in other people. She wanted to know what was going on. She wanted to know about people and their lives. She was interested in the life of communities across the country and elsewhere. And that interest and warmth came across to people she spoke to at events. She drew people in. And at that point, when she was speaking to them, they felt like the most important person in the world. I saw her care for others, perhaps most closely at Balmoral, where she was our hostess. She wanted visits to the castle and to her beloved Scotland to be enjoyed and appreciated by all her guests. She was thoughtful for her guests, choosing books for their rooms, and she wanted people to spend time as they wanted to do. Philip and I enjoy walking and did a number of walks across the estate. There was one occasion when the Duke of Edinburgh had recommended a long walk to us. We set off not realising how long it was going to be. I'm told that the Queen and the Duke had a discussion after we set off as to whether he should have recommended it. She was concerned for her guests, and she ensured that someone followed us at a discreet distance to make sure we were okay. Alongside that interest in people, the Queen loved the countryside and was a countrywoman at heart. I remember the evening at Balmoral when we were being driven by the Queen to one of the famous barbecues. We were on an estate road and came to our gate where our way was barred by a very large stag. The Queen slammed on the brakes and said, "What's he doing here?" Now, to any of us as drivers, that would have meant, "Why is he in my way?" But not to Her Majesty. She knew the animal should have been far higher up on the hillside, and was worried about what had brought him down so low. She loved the countryside, she understood it, and took a real interest in its flora and fauna. And that continuing interest in people and things around her was supported by hard work. She was assiduous in doing her red boxes. Not everyone is. In reading government papers, in learning about events and decisions, and her extensive knowledge, combined with her experience and undoubted wisdom, were invaluable for prime ministers. Weekly audiences were not a stiff debriefing. They were conversations, and they were an oasis of calm amidst the hurly-burly of political life. Her late Majesty understood the nature of the role of the monarchy in our constitutional arrangements, and also understood the diplomatic power of the monarchy. And she was deeply respected around the world. I saw this at Chogham, the Commonwealth Heads of Government in 2018. The Commonwealth leaders were at Windsor Castle, and there was a reception before our lunch. I knew the Queen was going to drop into the reception, but others didn't. When she walked into the room, everyone felt her presence. The respect for her was palpable, and they were queuing up just to speak to her. All of Her late Majesty's duties were carried out with an abiding quality of dignity and true grace. Despite being the sovereign, there were no airs and graces about her, no sense of a great I am. She was humble in her work and respectful in her treatment of others. At Balmoral, she was quite happy to sit playing patience while her guests chatted to each other. She did not feel the need to be the centre of attention. I also read of an official visit once where the Lord Lieutenant went ahead of her, was due to go ahead of her to introduce the receiving line, but he had some trouble with his sword getting out of the car. So the Queen walked up to the receiving line, put out her hand and said, "I'd better introduce myself. I'm the Queen." And alongside all of this, there was her sense of humour and her sense of fun. Nobody could fail to be captivated by her magnificent smile. There was always a sparkle about her and a twinkle in the eye, as we saw with her entrance to the London Olympics with James Bond and her tea with Paddington Bear. And I will never look at a marmalade sandwich the same way again. These are qualities that made Her late Majesty remarkable. But underpinning them all was something equally, if not more, significant. For she was a woman of faith. And she was a woman who was happy to be known and identified as a woman of faith. But while her strong Christian faith upheld and guided her throughout her life, but while she had a strong Christian faith, more than that, she believed in the importance of faith, that guidance from above that provides a strong framework of values for life, and crucially, the difference between right and wrong. And in that, she recognised the value of other faiths. What was important was to have a faith. And I think we can all be grateful to her for her increasing references to the importance of faith in recent years. I had more opportunity than many to spend time with Queen Elizabeth II. I was also hugely fortunate in that one of her last, if not the last, engagement out in public that she undertook was to open Thames Hospice in my Maidenhead constituency. I remember it well. We got there in good time and waited. The point came when it was clear the Queen had arrived, but still we waited because she took the time to greet those waiting outside. When she came in, you could feel the love and respect for her. She lit up the room. I was fortunate to be standing with a group close to the plaque she was to unveil, and she came up and shook my hand and we had a brief word. It was the last time I met her, the last word I shared with her. And when she left the room, you could feel that everyone felt better about themselves. were buoyed up, encouraged, and united, as people were wherever she went. Queen Elizabeth II was our longest-serving monarch, respected around the world, a woman of service, duty, dignity, grace, wisdom, humour, and yes, faith. She was truly remarkable, and I doubt we will ever see her like again. May she rest in peace and rise in glory. And we pray, may he bless our sovereign, Lord King Charles, and all the royal family.